Hi, class. Welcome back. I'd like to go over our second part of chapter 1. So, in this section, I'd actually like to review with you some of the research methods that we tend to use in developmental psychology. And you'll be seeing some of these methods as we kind of talk over different theories, really kind of digging into what was it that was actually done. So let's go ahead and get started. For those of you who have taken research methods, this might be a little bit of a review. Again, I kind of find that this is fundamental. Research methods is really fundamental to all of our psychology courses. And so my guess is you're probably seeing this in more than just this one. Okay. So, when we think about psychology, oftentimes people describe it as a soft science. But when we think about the scientific method and we think about a science, psychology is a science. And it is a science because we use the scientific method. And this is important because we come up with a hypothesis, we test it, right? And then we use the data that we find to go back and influence the theory that we're studying. Okay, so how does, the scientific method work? You probably studied something similar to this whenever you were in grade school, right? When you maybe entered into a science fair or something like that. So what do? Well, first, we have to have an idea, a theory or a hypothesis, and then we're going to engage in experimentation to test out that theory or that hypothesis. Finally, we're going to modify that idea based on the data that we get back, right? So if we have a lot of data that supports our theory, great, we can continue on. But if we find a lot of data that suggests, this probably isn't working, this isn't what we thought, then we need to take a step back and we need to modify that theory. So what does that look like? So you can think about every single experiment that's done. We'll be using this method, right? In some capacity, right? So first, we make some initial observation. We see everyday life. It spurs us to ask a question. And so we formulate a theory. That theory then, it leads us to form a hypothesis or propose a specific hypothesis. And then we design a research study to test that hypothesis. We take a look at the data. Does that data confirm our hypothesis? Then yes, we can keep that theory, or maybe we might refine it with additional data or additional questions. If the research data does not confirm our hypothesis, then we're going to reject our theory, okay? And this is when we might come back and formulate a new theory. This process is constantly evolving. And if we have a good theory, it doesn't mean that we stop the scientific process. In fact, we are constantly amending it. And so this is why even if you have a theory that has existed for, decades, that you could still collect data, we can still modify that theory. It's not absolute. And that's a really important part about science, is that we're constantly engaging in more research to help us refine theories, to help us push the envelope of those theories and really discover something new. Okay. So a theory then, your textbook talks about this, but I think about a theory as being sort of this umbrella term, okay? It's this organized set of principles that allow us to describe or explain something. So our theory is our umbrella term. Underneath that, we may come up with hypotheses to test those theories. So what makes a good theory? Well, the theory itself has to be falsifiable. What does that mean? It means that we should be able to prove, but also disprove the theory. Okay, we can't create something that we can never disprove, right?